2014 Toyota Sienna minivan, deck install with backup camera. Let's get started. Okay, so this whole brown, in this case brown, plastic trim piece has to come off. I found a good place to start was right here on this corner. I got it loose. So there's clips all behind this. You're just going to carefully release all these clips until that panel is out in your hand. Here's a look at all those different clip locations as we go down the dash. You got 4 across the front here, 5. You got 2 on this side of that control panel and 1 on the far left. Okay, next step is going to be this panel. We're going to start by twisting off the shifter knob, setting that aside, and this also unclips. Okay, comes off. Another look at those clips. Okay, 4 clips in total. Hold that on. Those are the yellow clips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unplug this electrical connector. Next thing that unclips is going to be this whole heater control system. Comes right out. Another good look at those clips. Okay, you got 3 on the bottom side there. In this case, the top ones are actually white. 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, the heater controls. Once again, electrical plug, squeeze the tab, pull it out. Okay, that brings us to here. Okay, so this is underneath the radio now. Right, there's your radio unit. Underneath here, you've got 4 10mm bolts looking back at you. A couple are pretty deep, a couple are a little closer. I'm going to pull those out and pull the radio right out in my hand. Okay, so with those 4 bolts removed, you got to pull firmly on the bottom of this. This is also clipped in. I'll pull this out, put it on a bench or a seat in the back here, show you what that assembly looks like when it's unplugged. Okay, that's the whole unit as it is out of the car. Show you the plugs are on the back. These are your regular plugs you need. These are the main audio plugs. This is where your antenna plugs in right here. These 3 jacks here, I'm not sure what they're used for, but you may have to unplug those. This, I believe, is for a maybe a satellite antenna, like an XM radio antenna. But that's what the back of it looks like. So the next step I'm going to take here is I'm going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws that look like this. There's one there. One here, one over here, and one up here at the top. And pull those out. That's going to let me remove the radio from that assembly. And this is where you need to get out your plastic dash kit, either from Metra, which I usually prefer, or another company, and start mounting your new radio into the new bracket. So depending on the brand of dash kit that you use, this is what you'll end up with as far as the mounting of the radio itself. Okay, so essentially I've assembled the plastic kit and brackets the way I just followed their instructions from Metra, and the new radio bolts right to the back of this panel, and you can reinstall it the same way. As far as the wiring goes, this particular vehicle is getting a lot of different stuff. It's getting the GPS is going to be hooked up, the XM radio, obviously the Bluetooth hands-free calling. We're also putting in a rear view backup camera. So a lot of that stuff is specific to each different item, so I can't really go over all of that. What I'm going to try and do next, though, is I'm going to try and give you some pointers. Okay, so on this car, like I said, this is getting XM antenna and the GPS antenna both. So sometimes this is tricky. This is sometimes where people have a hard time. So what I have here, this is a heavy straightened metal coat hanger. Okay, it's sharpened to a point, as sharp as I can get it. And so what you have to do on these cars, or really on any car, is basically to get these antennas out here where they can then be put up on the roof following the rain channel on either side of the windshield, is you have to find a rubber grommet and then be able to pierce that rubber grommet. And it's a very small hole you're making. So on the Toyota Sienna, if you look all the way back here, you see that large harness and that rubber grommet that's around it? That is how I was able to get out from the car. So using that sharpened metal coat hanger, you pierce that grommet coming this way, okay, and then pull the coat hanger out somewhat until you can tape these leads onto that coat hanger. Okay, so now here's the other concern, right, is the GPS antennas and the XM antennas have huge plugs like this on them. Okay, so you're not going to be able to get that pulled through that metal grommet, especially just taped to a coat hanger. So on all these connectors, there's a release tab. If you look all the way in here, that tiny tab on top had to be released, and I could actually pull the cable out of this plug. in order to be able to better fish that wire through the rubber grommet. Now, the other thing is once you have that taped to that, with those, you know, plastic, extra plastic connectors removed, you've got your metal fish rod through the rubber grommet, and you've got your wires that you're taping to it. You need some lubrication, okay? Because it's rubber against rubber and plastic, it's not going to slide very well for you. What you'll do is you'll pull on it, and these wires will just pull right off the metal coat hanger. So another tactic I use is I'll actually take one of these wires and wrap it around slightly, maybe 2 or 3 times around the metal coat hanger, then tape it tight, then tape the second one to the first one, then I'll lubricate it. Today I use PB Blaster. You can use whatever you like, 3-in-1 oil, WD-40, anything to make it slicker. So then you pull it until you have some tension, okay, until maybe it feels like it's too hard to pull. That's when you know the connectors have reached that grommet. Then you can reach in, spray some more lubricant on it, make sure that it stays nice and slippery for you. And then once you're at that point, you can just go ahead and just give those wires a sharp tug, and you should be able to pull those connectors right through. And then you'll be ready to go. Now, as I'm seeing here, there is a tiny little sort of a nipple on this grommet also, right? So if I had reached back in here, I could actually cut this right off and also fish through that way. If you can get cutters back there. You know, it's a pretty tight spot. I can just reach my fingertips back there. So that's another option for you if you don't like fishing all the way through with that metal rod. You should be able to reach through. If you can, cut that off, and that's actually a path inside the cabin as well. There's a couple ideas to help you get those wires out here. This will also work for any wire you need to get out in this cabin, out from the cabin into the engine compartment, whether you're doing a remote starter or adding any other accessories, maybe perhaps an amplifier. So that's an idea for you. Okay, I decided to try and learn how we could keep the factory backup camera on this Toyota Sienna. This one's a 2014, I believe 2011 or 2014 are very similar. So basically the system that we had here was factory audio system, no nav down here. It was AM, FM, CD. I don't even think this part had Bluetooth. And then on this vehicle up here on the small screen, you get the rear view camera image. So what we did is we went ahead and we unplugged this plug here, which is on the back of this module. Okay, it would plug in right there. Okay, so we unplug this, flip it over because it's a little easier to work on. And the wires we're looking at here are the white. You see I've already stripped back, which is in the second pin from the right, and then the black, which is the third pin from the right. On this harness, that black is the video positive signal, and the white is the video negative signal. So what you'll do is you'll get yourself a regular video cable with an RCA end, like a phono end. I'll show you what that means. And then you can strip it back like this. This center wire here, that's your video positive. And then this wire here is your video negative, or video ground. And then what we have down at the head unit, the other end of this cable, becomes one of these. So we can plug directly into the head unit. Okay? So what's going to happen here is I'm going to solder video positive to that black wire I have stripped back, and video negative, or video ground, to that white wire. I'm going to tape them very carefully, make sure that they're insulated well. Plug this back in. One note, if you want to test these yourself, what I do is I use alligator clips to clip onto those spots that I strip back. However, if you leave the plug unplugged like this, it'll seem like the camera's not working. You won't get any video image on your monitor or TV that you're using for testing. So once you hook up your alligator clips, you have to plug this back in, and with that plug back in, you will get video from the rear camera off of those two leads. So hopefully that helps someone else, because I spent some time, you know, between researching online and then testing wires, different locations. And don't forget that if you're putting in an aftermarket nav unit, like a double DIN unit, whatever it is, you still have to hook up a reverse wire to that unit. Otherwise, their unit won't switch over to that video input. Okay. And on the 2014 Toyota Sienna, I got that all the way underneath the left knee bolster here, right behind those two handles. There's a BCM. The wire behind there is red with a black stripe. It's relatively easy to find. It's facing right out at you. But I basically removed this knee bolster here, removed all that out of the way to get to the BCM. And that's where I got the reverse signal from. Okay, here's a closer look at that panel I was just showing you what was underneath there to tie in that video camera with the backup camera. So this whole panel unclips. It just has straight clips, just like that, okay? Looks like 9 of them. Okay, and additionally, so I've already tied into that as I described to the video feed. I plugged it back in, and I found that this little nook right here is a perfect place to put your Bluetooth hands-free mic. It's just a little nook there. It might have been made for that by Toyota, I don't know. but we're going to see how that works out.